we are going to have with us Dr. Pradeep Suri. He will talk about hematological parameters and COVID prognosis. Dr. Suri is MBBS and MD Pathology from Maulana Azad Medical College in New Delhi, and MBA in Healthcare Administration. He has done some courses like Clinical Laboratory Management. And can you put the slide, please, with the okay. And welcome, Dr. Pradeep Suri. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Rahman, for your kind words. I will begin my presentation from point where people come before going to Dr. Sen Gupta's hospital. Primarily, we are an OPD setting laboratory, so we look at parameters of patients who are still not admitted and are seeking admission. So from that perspective, we are going to look at parameters of patients who are first time diagnosed RT-PCR positive, and we do the hematological and inflammatory markers and see who are more likely to go to need hospitalization, and look at the prognostic significance of different markers. Especially this time we had a very intense second wave, and there was a lot of shortage of beds in Delhi at least, and some amount of triage of who needs hospital first can be done by having some look at these markers itself.
Perfect. We are waiting to hear from you.
We all know that CRP is the most suitable marker for looking of aggravation of COVID from mild to moderate to severe, with an average level of 20 to 50, and elevated CRP levels are observed in up to 86% of severe COVID patients, which makes it the most useful marker for monitoring the disease severity. Next, we have ferritin, which is kind of a double-edged sword, as it is both an pro-inflammatory as well as an anti-inflammatory marker. It is also an acute phase reactant and involved in iron metabolism. It has got significant prognostic value in COVID-19 patients. However, one single value is never enough to determine. Serial rising titers of ferritin are more significant, especially when we are looking at cytokine storms. When they say that when the levels increase to more than 600 to 1000 within a span of say 24 to 48 hours, along with an elevated IL-6 levels which are 10 times the normal level, this is kind of a telltale sign for impending COVID storm. So ferritin, apart from being an inflammatory marker, is also a useful marker to look at impending COVID storm. Next, we have the interleukin 6 or IL-6. It is a potential predictor for development of hypoxemia in COVID-19 patients, and at a concentration of 24 picogram per ml, it shows excellent sensitivity and good specificity across various studies. Next, we have lactate dehydrogenase or LDH, and their elevated levels are associated with increased odds of both developing severe disease, 6 times more odds of developing severe disease, and approximately 16 times more odds of developing higher mortality. So it is not only a marker for severity, it is also a marker for mortality, and it's a very useful inflammatory marker. Then we have D-dimer, which is both inflammatory as well as pro-coagulation marker. It correlates well with other inflammatory markers, and it is more meaningful for a prognosis of survival at a cutoff of 2.025. So what is the objective of our study? We have basically tried to look at various hematological parameters, most of what Dr. Sen Gupta had described earlier, and tried to correlate with these various inflammatory markers that, with the rise in these inflammatory markers, what is the change in the hematological parameters, and which one amongst the many are best suited to, triage patients into mild, moderate, severe even before the symptoms are manifested. And we have then tried to establish the most useful markers among them that can be used for COVID-19 prognosis. So the materials that we used in our study were for CRP and LDH, we used Cobas Integra biochemistry analyzer. For ferritin, we did Abbott Architect chemiluminescence system. For interleukin 6, we used Beckman Access system. For D-dimer, we use VIDAS system using alpha technology. And for doing RT-PCR for COVID-19, we use Bio-Rad CFX96 as well as ZBio extraction system. And the CBC with reticulocyte count we did for each of our patients on Mindray BC 6800 plus. So these were the materials that were available to us to conduct our study. So what we did was a simple 4-step methodology. Sorry. Yeah. So all the patients who were RT-PCR positive were selected in the scope of study. Patients who had got CBC and all these 5 inflammatory markers, who had not got rather, sorry, were excluded from the study. So each one of our patient had got CBC and all the 5 inflammatory markers that were part of the study. Patients were asked for a history of corticosteroid intake, and the group was further filtered with people who had already started corticosteroid were excluded, as we know that corticosteroid makes NLR jump up, so that neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, which is a very important marker that we were studying, should not get biased by corticosteroid intake, because then the NLR will no longer be a reliable tool. And then we performed an unpaired T test for each one of these parameters with each of the inflammatory markers. And most of these patients were followed to see which one of them needed hospitalization. So first, CRP, we divided CRP into 2 categories, less than 20 and more than 20. And we did the markers that we did were absolute lymphocyte count, absolute neutrophil count, RDW, both CV and SD, immature platelet fraction, NEUT-Y, neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, immature granulocytes, high fluorescent cells or the high fluorescence lymphocyte cells, immature reticulocyte fraction, and mono-Z. So these were the markers that we studied. For CRP, the 3 markers that showed, significant difference between the 2 groups were absolute lymphocyte count, absolute neutrophil count, and neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, with value of 1.9 and 1.2 for the absolute lymphocyte count, 5.4 and 6.3 for the absolute neutrophil count, and 3.7 and 7.2 for the NLR. The other markers which showed mild significance were HFC and NEUT-Y. Next, we did for ferritin, we divided again into 2 groups, ferritin less than 300 and ferritin more than 300. Again, the 3 markers that showed promising results were pretty similar. Absolute lymphocyte count and NLR were similar to that in the CRP, but absolute neutrophil count did not show that much of a difference. However, HFC showed a significant difference in this case. HFC from 0.31 was difference to 0.6 in the higher group. So HFC was a more significant marker with ferritin. Next, we did a correlation with LDH. Again, 2 groups, LDH less than 350, LDH more than 350. So the 3 markers that did show better correlation were similar to that in CRP. Absolute lymphocyte count was 2 in the first group and 1.3 in the second group. Absolute neutrophil count was 5.2 and 6.5. And NLR was 3.5 and 7.3. So NLR was showing the most significant difference across the board amongst all the 3 inflammatory markers so far. Then we did for interleukin 6, we again divided interleukin 6 into 2 groups, less than 24, more than 24. So the absolute lymphocyte count, neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, and NLR showed the most significant difference. Absolute lymphocyte count was 1.8 and 1.3. NLR was 4 and 6.2. And HFC was 0.33 and 0.53. Absolute neutrophil count did not show that much of a difference. Last, we did for D-dimer value less than 1 and more than 1, we differentiated again into 2 groups. We could have taken 0.5, but because there were a lot of elderly people, so age correction we did, and so we took 1 as a good number so that we could differentiate, age corrected patients also. In this group, surprisingly, absolute lymphocyte count, absolute neutrophil count, and NLR did not show that much of a difference. NLR did show mild difference, but surprisingly, a new parameter cropped up, immature reticulocyte fraction. This showed a significant difference. It was 10.8 in the group where D-dimer was less than 1 and 16.5 in the group where D-dimer was more than 1. Surprisingly, reticulocyte percentage and absolute reticulocyte count did not show that much of a difference in this group. So this is the unpaired t-test for CRP versus neutrophil lymphocyte ratio. It was extremely significant. The mean difference was 3.5. This is that unpaired t-test for CRP versus absolute lymphocyte count. It was also extremely significant. P-value was less than 0.0001 and the mean difference was 0.52. T-test for CRP versus absolute neutrophil count, again extremely significant. Mean difference was 2.47. This is t-test for ferritin versus absolute lymphocyte count, again extremely significant. The mean difference was 0.47. T-test for ferritin versus high fluorescence cells, again extremely significant. The mean difference was 0.268. However, there was a very interesting finding with HFC. Although HFC was higher in the group which had higher inflammatory markers, but an HFC value more than 1% was, none of these patients needed hospital admission, and few of them who actually did not require any oxygen support. So HFC value more than 1% was also seen as a good prognostic marker. So that was the dichotomy with HFC. This is ferritin versus neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, again extremely significant. P-value less than 0.001 and the mean difference was 2.678. IL-6 versus absolute lymphocyte count, again extremely significant. Mean difference of 0.470. Then IL-6 versus neutrophil lymphocyte ratio, it was again significant. Mean difference 2.17. IL-6 versus HFC, again extremely significant. Mean difference 0.21. D-dimer versus immature reticulocyte fraction, again extremely significant. P-value was less than 0.0001 and the mean difference was 5.658. CRP HFC correlation was mildly significant. Same for CRP HFC in percentage as well as absolute HFC, mildly significant. CRP Newt-Y was also mildly significant, which shows that most of these neutrophil absolute that was increasing was not due to shift to left or neutrophilic leukocytosis, rather due to lymphopenia. So it is more a case of relative neutrophilia that was happening. There was not so much a shift to left in all these cases. Then ferritin absolute neutrophil count was again mildly significant with a p-value of 0.0124. IL-6 absolute neutrophil count was not significant. D-dimer absolute neutrophil count was not significant. D-dimer absolute lymphocyte count was also not significant. So D-dimer was not showing much significance with most of the hematological markers barring IL-6. Same D-dimer NLR was again not significant. And D-dimer HFC was also not significant. So in conclusion, absolute lymphocyte count, absolute neutrophil count and neutrophil lymphocyte ratio were the best prognostic marker, showing excellent correlation with most of the inflammatory markers. NLR was the most efficacious markers amongst the various parameters analyzed, with a caveat that till you put the patient on corticosteroids. When the patient is on corticosteroids, then NLR is no longer a reliable marker. Immature reticulocyte fraction showed excellent correlation with D-dimer, but not with other inflammatory markers. This could be a topic for further research to see why immature reticulocyte fraction is increasing with increase in D-dimer. Although total reticulocyte fraction is not increasing, only there is a shift to left, maybe because of some RBC destruction, there is some bone marrow reactivation, I don't know. So with these words, I'd like to thank you all. If there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Yes. Thank you so much, Dr. Suri. It was very nice presentation. And I have to say something that, for some people maybe looks not interesting, the exhaustive statistics you did. But as you mentioned, we found incredible things, incredible facts. I expected to find much more correlation with D-dimer and IPF, but not. It's IRF. D-dimer correlating with red cells parameters. That is amazing. And we need, absolutely, I agree with you, we need to investigate that. For the other reasons, I think LDH, lactodehydrogenase, correlates with IRF. That maybe confirmed the component of hemolytic anemia, that there is some hemolysis. But again, another correlation that I cannot explain is why high fluorescent cells correlates better with ferritin. Normally, I will expect ferritin correlating with hematological parameters, because anemia of chronic disease, because blocking the iron metabolism, an increase of hepcidin, an increase of ferritin, but not. You find that high fluorescent cells, that will be the presence of lymphoplasmatic cells, correlates with ferritin. That is amazing, and that's open new pathways to investigate COVID. And that, thank you very much. Looks like for many people maybe it's boring to see, but believe me, it is amazing, because because normally we look for the correlations that we have in our mind that have sense, but look for other correlations can open new pathways to understand COVID. And thank you so much. I was really excited with your talk.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.